New Year's resolutions. The very idea of them tends to make many of us kind of tense up and sort of hang our heads in frustration. And we often do this year after year after year, and we approach it with such seriousness and, goal setting intensity. And then we get really frustrated if we fall off the wagon. But maybe we're approaching, the idea of the new year all wrong. Maybe what we really need is a more of a looser and spiritual concept of a fresh start. Maybe what we really need is more fun, more spontaneity, and to not take this time so seriously. Maybe even to let a little madness into our New Year manifestations and into our whole new year. Okay? Hi, Keisha here of New World Tarot, and thank you for joining in. This Friday, January 24th, marks the first new moon of 2020. And new moons are traditionally a time of new intentions and powerful new manifestations. The turn of the new year, which is traditionally a time of manifestation and new intentions, it only kind of adds, to the power of this time. We have a cultural new beginning with a lunar new beginning and a cosmic new beginning together. And this new moon arrives in the sign of Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is symbolized by the water bearer, and it's ruled by the element of air. And as a quick side, that's an interesting aspect that many people may not realize, especially people that have never really kind of went into astrology at all. Most people actually think that with a name like Aquarius, and a symbol called the water bearer, surely it's a water sign. But no, actually, it's ruled by the element of air. And Aquarius energy is all about very ingenious, deep, progressive thinking that is ahead of its time and outside the box. And Aquarius is the sign of the inventor. It's the mad scientist and the visionary and the iconoclast. In other words, Aquarius is a sign of someone who may not be walking quite in step with the rest of the world around them. And those born under the sign of Aquarius are most likely, at least in some areas of their life, or at least at some times in their lives, considered weird or mad or eccentric, okay? And we all, though, have that madness within us. And this time could bring that out even more so. So to talk about this energy more, I'd like to briefly talk about a tarot card, which is the Fool. Okay? And in a moment, I'm going to have some of my favorite Fool cards up for you on the screen to take a look at. So, of course, in the bottom here, we have the Fool from the original Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Okay, this is one of the most popular versions of the Fool out there in the tarot, and of course we have this man who is about to step off the cliff because he's just so much just enraptured in the world around him, enraptured in life, and he has pretty much no belongings, no worldly things with him, as it's symbolized by this little bag over his shoulder. Okay, we have the little white dog down here in the bottom right hand corner, who I believe is meant to symbolize spirit itself, and how spirit is always with him and always following his step. And in some versions of this card, the older ones that actually predate the Rider-Waite-Smith, like the old French ones, this dog is actually like tearing his pants down or biting his genitals or something like that. And it's kind of, again, meant to kind of symbolize the perceived idiocracy of the Fool character, and his foolishness, and even his madness and his outsideness. How he's definitely an outsider to the rest of the society around him. And of course, in the top right corner we have the bright sun just basking this card in radiant gold, and it just symbolizes just the lack of being weighed down. It's just, it's not a card of looking back and holding grudges and being miserable about all the mistakes you've made, everything that was done to you. It's about a total and utter living in the moment and only being right now, and just it's sunshine. Just enjoying the sunshine right now, while it shines on you, and not really giving too much thoughts to where you've come from or where you're going. So in the top corner on the left hand side, we have the Fool card from the Tarot Muka, which is one of my favorite decks right now. And as you can see, it's very, very close to the original, the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot that we just saw, that we see on the bottom here. The only difference is I love it. It's beautifully drawn. We have a woman now who is, and she's even seems to be having this sway dancing step, which to me is even more and showing of the energy here. But obviously we have very similar imagery going on here, and a lot of tarot decks will use that same imagery and keep it similar. And to the right of that, we have the Fool from the Alice Tarot. And here we have Alice at the beginning of her journey, and she is about to follow the white rabbit down the rabbit hole. And you have to be mad to, you know, and I think that even Cheshire Cat points this out at one point, but you got to be mad to want to follow a talking, dressed up rabbit down a rabbit hole into the ground. Like, you know what I mean? That's not something that a normal person does. But obviously we see the concept of, again, a little hint of madness, and also just a new beginning, and it just being in a now. And again, she's not thinking about anything else but right now, what's happening right now. To the right of that, we have the Fool from the Spacious Tarot, which is also one of my favorite decks right now. Absolutely gorgeous. And I love this. This deck, of course, is all about nature scenes. And I believe it was just kind of inspired by the creator's home that I think she lives out in the West. And if you've ever been to that area, like near Utah and whatnot, the absolutely gorgeous natural settings with these big mountains, big wide open spaces. And that's kind of where she designed the deck for the pictures of that. And here we just have this, it's so brilliant in its simple simplicity. It's just your view of just this cliff and this big open world beyond it. And again, it's just about potential. You know, where are you going to go? What are you going to do right now? And just being in the now, the moment. And to the right of that, we have the Fool, which is from the Herb Crafter's Tarot, in this tarot deck, every card is symbolized by an herb. And we have dandelion here. And of course, you know, dandelion is that lovely quote-unquote weed that everyone wages war on to the detriment of our planet. But, you know, don't get me started on that. But dandelion is, of course, that flower that you see all over the place. And the reason it gets so abundant is because its seed stage has these beautiful little tufts of, you know, I don't even know what you would call it, feathery seeds that float everywhere. And that's what they're really capturing here with the energy of that card. Just that when it's in its seed state, it just kind of catches the wind and goes wherever. It can go left, it can go right, it can go north, it can go south. Just very much just unpredictable in the moment. Just at the slightest breeze, it's gone and it's traveling. And, you know, all these dandelions you see all over your lawn are, you know, the result of this very airy fairy, just kind of going with the flow, literally, you know, energy. Like some went left, some went right, some went north, some went south. And then you have this amazing coverage that's there. Okay. So these are some of my favorite Fool cards, but of course, there are so many that I had to trim it down to just these. So here at the new year, and yes, you know, it's the beginning of a new cycle here. And this is also the end of an old cycle as well. And similarly, the Fool holds a similar position among the major arcana of the tarot. You know, the Fool is the beginning, but it's also the end. And also the Fool is astrologically associated with the planet Uranus. And Uranus is also the ruling planet of the sign of Aquarius. The Fool is certainly a fascinating card. It's traditionally given the number 0 in the major arcana. It's the only card to be given that number. And one of the reasons for that is because it represents pure potentiality. You know, this is the moment before things truly begin, where one kind of contemplates the direction you're going. Okay, and another reason this card is numbered 0 is because of pure spirit. It often is represented by the concept of spirit, which really has no definitive shape. It is all things and is no things at once. So if you follow astrological associations as I do, then again, the Fool is associated with the planet of Uranus, which is the same ruling planet as Aquarius, and thus is ruled by the element of air. And to me, this card brings an energy of playfulness, of spontaneity, of adventure, and wearing the world lightly. Now, the Fool is a card of beginnings, but it's also kind of about setting out on those beginnings with an energy that is considered a bit mad to most earthbound humans. And that's because it's about setting out on those new beginnings with little attachment to the outcome. And it's a card just of movement and just being in the moment. And it's about not dwelling on the losses of the past, such as last year, or, focusing on the serious attainment of goals in the future, such as, the upcoming year. This is all about releasing attachment and just having fun and living for the sake of living in the moment. And because of this energy, the Fool is also a card to me that can have a tinge of madness. And what I see here in this card is when it comes to your manifestations and your intentions, don't be afraid to go big. Don't be afraid of others thinking you mad, thinking you crazy, foolish, weird, absurd. Be really, really honest with yourself, radically honest. And, just be upfront with what you want to have in your life. Like, for example, you may not want a big house in an expensive suburb, unlike everyone else, but instead you may want to live in an RV or, a big tent. It's okay to embrace that strangeness that's about you, that otherness that's kind of about you. And, others are going to think you're mad or weird or crazy, and that's okay. Intend what you want anyway and make your manifestations anyway. So just be uniquely you, and not just for this new moon, but all year. Just live and create intentions and manifest madly. Okay. So before I go, I would like to do a super quick bridge draw. And I think we're going to use the Spacious Tarot. Yes. I think that feels right today. So we're going to do that. And what we're going to do is we're literally going to ask, how can we, as students, really kind of learn to embrace the energy of the Fool. And of course, I did not go ahead and in advance pull out my card that I want to use. So now I'm going to have to look for it. So let's see. So what we want to do, here we have the Child of Swords as representing us. And it represents, again, just us at the beginning of a journey, and us just as students of how to use our mind, how to really embrace our thinking in a correct and powerful way. Okay, and so we have the Child of Swords, which represent us at the beginning of a journey. Okay, and you've already seen we will have the Fool card as representing how we can truly just kind of tap into our own madness. And I kind of is a double entendre here, like madness as in not just us being, a little bit off and not kind of being on the same page with a lot of the rest of society, but also in the sense of you're a genius. And that can only be found in embracing what is uniquely you. And that can only be found in you being willing to be kind of ridiculed and not really, seen to be on the same page as other people. Okay. And in a moment, once I do lay out the cards, I will have them up on the screen for you to take a look at. Okay. So how can we, as just as students of thinking, students of life, trying to use our mind and our thinking to the best, most possible, most effective and powerful way, how can we just really embrace that inner madness, embrace that our own unique voice, embrace what makes us stand out in a crowd, and just embrace just more fun, more spontaneity as well, okay, during this new moon and also during, the rest of the year as well. Okay, so we have the Elder of Pentacles pulled in reverse. All right, and again, I will show you these up here in a moment. And we also have the star, also pulled in reverse. Okay, so in a moment I will have these cards up here for you. Okay, so what I see here, so and asking how we can achieve and tap into the power of the full more, we have the Elder of Pentacles reversed and the Star reversed. Now the Elder of Pentacles is, to me, all about, again, it's about material mastery. It's a very grounded energy, it's very mature energy, and it's very much an energy that's very much admired by society. You know, it's the energy of the businessman, the CEO, and it's usually, you know, for those of us that have, you know, goals, we have jobs, it's very much an energy that we are used to trying to attain. And when I see this here in reverse, it is a reminder that all energy has shadow and light, but in order to really embrace yourself more, embrace your own path, live in the moment, you're going to have to release some of that heavy, mature, grounded, just attachment to goals, attachment to material success, attachment to, again, you know, represented by the big house, the you know, pleasing society and being seen as someone who's accomplished and looked up for. Even you know, this card is also associated with taking responsibility for others and taking care of others and always trying to, you know, please other people and make sure everyone else is taken care of. This is very much when I see this here in reverse. It's a reminder that in order to embrace this full energy, this new beginning, this just, you know, letting your mind just truly be free and be open. You have to kind of step back from that and let it go. When I see the star here in reverse, it's interesting because the star is actually ruled by Aquarius. And that ties it in directly again to this time of year, our new moon in Aquarius. It also ties it in with the full, which they both have the sign of Aquarius and the full, both ruled by the same planet, by the planet of Uranus. And when I see this here pulled in reverse, I think about just kind of truly, really truly seeing your own self-value within yourself of what you, what value your thinking brings. And it's really about self-trust and just letting yourself feel safe about who you are and recognizing your own uniqueness and not trying to hide it. Not trying to hide the light of your own inner star under a cloak of not being who you are. And I think it's very important to really face that, okay? All right, so thank you so much for joining me today, and we will see you next time. And definitely, you know, enjoy your new moon manifestations, and remember just to kind of let your own self shine out and enjoy yourself fully. All right, so enjoy, be happy, be safe, be blessed, and we will see you next time. Take care.